Oh, let's
And that's why I can never go to Dick's Sporting Goods again.
get them topics.
Doing some resizing here.
It's in there. It's voicemail 8. I will get rid of voicemails.
Interesting.
Voicemail 8.
Seriously, there's no multi-select in the Dropbox app? You gotta be kidding me.
Oh no, there isn't. I forgot about that.
Can you paste text into the spreadsheet, please?
What? Text?
The text of the voicemail so I
I
don't
don't-
have to leave my SoundCloud application, please?
You want me to put the
Okay.
you want me to put
Yeah.
the Google transcription?
Yeah. Yeah, I might read that one.
Did we not put the cyanogen mod thing in the?
It's down under other news.
Oh, is it? No, I already put my name on it. I just put my name on things.
It's in the land down under.
without reading
I was gonna say you already got your name on it.
I don't actually read the topics. If my name's next to it, I just put it on there.
Oh, it is Francois! He is in the chat room!
So, the spreadsheet is not being friendly with me today, so put my name on the AT&T thing. Someone, please. Go ahead and put it on the Verizon Sprint thing, too.
I will do that.
Hold on. Gotta
Or
take
somebody
And, of
else
course,
will.
Shield Tablet. Lit.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about David's pie obligation.
Huh?
David's
What
pie
pie?
obligation.
What's the M8? The M8i.
M8 Pi.
Who gonna do the pie?
Yeah.
We're gonna do the Pi in their M8i. We totally don't have to talk about WebOS if nobody wants to.
Nope. Nobody want to.
Nobody wants to. Because it's not Android.
But you can dance if you want to.
You can leave your friends behind, 'cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine.
Yes. God, that went better than I could have ever expected.
You might have noticed that there is no hot sheet on this spreadsheet.
The sheet was cold this week, yo.
That is very strong badass.
Do it, dog.
Okay, yeah. So my lower third is not.
You said that's very strong bad-esque, and Siri says, I'm not sure I understand. Hey Siri, bite me!
Cameron, I'm gonna keep inviting you to the Draw app. So
Yeah, I'm not going to accept it today.
Hey Siri, kiss my butt.
Is there a Siri in the room?
Sounded like she said. Sounded like her reply was, "Oh no." That's seriously what it sounded like to me.
Hey Siri, you're a dyke.
Oh, damn, dude, we're live. I mean,
That's not nice. Be nice to Siri. Hey Siri,
Oh.
I need you to find me a cat, please, because I'm drunk.
Let me check on that. Okay, I found something on the web for if I have a cat places to visit once I have a job.
I missed that. What did she say?
I have no fucking clue.
She said, if I have a cab places, if I have a jock.
I am showing you web results for if I have a cab places as if I have a jock. Would you
Those are
like-
web results I don't think I'd be interested in seeing.
Hey Siri, I was wondering if
Would you like to see a picture of a stallion?
Pictures of a monkey butt.
There are some but I found on the web.
What did you ask her?
You can show me pictures of a monkey's butt. but I tried to sound as drunk as I possibly could.
We still have pink topics.
Hey Siri, show me pictures of some pink topic.
I don't want to talk about
Ready to send it. What? It's. Oh my gosh! It sent something. We just sent a text message that said pink butts to somebody.
What's it?
Dang.
Son?
This is a big butt.
I don't know what to whom shall I send this?
All right, we should probably
Cancel.
cease with the Siri play.
I didn't intend it. It's.
Anything else you
Will you shut up? This is an Android podcast. You jerk.
Dang, Siri.
You're gonna let my secret out of the bag.
Why does the timestamp in my chat room show 12:30 a.m.?
You have it to the twilight zone.
I think it started at 0 o'clock whenever I logged in. That's exactly what it did.
What time is it? It's 0 o'clock.
It's summertime. It's our vacation. Oh, but Mrs. Johnson, I have a note from my doctor. Yes, she said I could miss the test today. Wop. Things. That trombone just called me a wop. Not nice, trombone.
I think that was an inappropriate term.
Yeah, it was probably inappropriate back in the early 1900s.
From your trombone.
Here now. I am of Italian descent, and it does not bother me.
Well, that's good.
Plus, if there's anything I know about racial slurs, it means that if you are of that race, you're allowed to use them freely.
That's true. That is a true story.
I'm gonna have to go shut my door here because I got some noise from the outside. You guys hear it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, then I'm not gonna worry about it.
I got nothing. I hear nothing.
All right,
We still have pink topics, yo.
I know. Fill in the pink topics. Come on.
But
I'm not especially eager to get rid of any of them, but I guess if I have to, I will.
Bob, you greasy wop.
here, I'll take this one.
He still loves you, though.
Okay.
Okay. There were 3 left. That's one for each of us. I took mine.
Oh, I have a topic on here. Probably should read about it.
Yeah, you should.
Apparently, Mullins loves greasy wops.
Guess I'll take this one. Have to.
Do it.
Sorry about that. Okay.
I believe there's one topic left, David, and it's for you.
Okay.
It's the best one on the spreadsheet.
I see what you
We
did there.
saved it. We saved it for
It's funny 'cause
you.
it's not.
Okay.
All right. Let's figure out what the date is.
October.
October 2.
I have a private.
It is date
The date
2.
is October. The date is October.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Nothing.
What happened? Did your Google Drive fall off? I don't know why I'm talking like that.
Ah.
I'm going to start re-recording. Wait, I have to save this as a different file. So, this is Android Police, episode 130!
Da, 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 da. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130. 130
The secret phrase for tonight's show will be belly dancer.
Bad secret phrase because it won't happen.
If you can fit the phrase belly dancer into a story, you win tonight's prize. Tonight's prize is me to stop talking like this.
Belly dancer.
That's not a story.
There
Okay.
was this belly dancer.
There was.
So, guys,
So,
I didn't hear anything.
I am talking like that.
Is anybody saying anything?
I am going to press the button for the show to the starting.
Welcome to the Android Police Podcast, your weekly audio source for all things Android. It is Thursday, October 2nd, 2014. I'm your host, Matthew Smith.
I'm David Ruddick.
I'm Cameron Summerson.
I'm Liam Spradlin.
I'm the guy pressing the buttons. My name is Bob Severns. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. So
Yeah.
we're mixing things up a little bit, kind of changing around the structure of the topics and everything. So hopefully you will find that we're moving along a little bit quicker and keeping things real interesting for you. So starting things off, we're going to hit up Code Google.
Let's hit it up.
Hit it up.
Yeah.
So short of an official announcement, I believe we know everything there is to know about the Motorola Nexus 6 or whatever it ends up being named when it comes off the assembly line. Liam, we've got lots of articles, lots of news posted this week. We've got pictures that leaked out. We've got some renders that were faithfully put together. So what do we know? What do we know about the Nexus 6 that we didn't know before?
Basically just confirmation that it's what we heard it was, a 5.9-inch display with QHD resolution, which is like a wacky pixel density. I'm excited to see that. A 3200 milliamp hour battery, dual front-facing stereo speakers. Yeah, I mean, the specs that we heard before basically line up with the information that we've seen. It will be called the Nexus 6, and if you want to see what it looks like, we have both real-life photos and a render that we put together based on what we have seen.
Okay, so are you sure that it's 5.9 inches?
Yes. Well, 5.92.
Are you sure it's not 5.9 inches?
Yes, I would say that I am certain that it is not 5.9 inches.
Am I allowed to hope that it's smaller than 5.9 inches?
No.
You can hope, but your hopes will
Put
be
that hope
wrong.
right next to your hope for a SD card slot and a removable battery.
Yeah.
I don't care about either of those things.
I want
God,
a Sony memory stick slot, please.
Kim, you just gotta buy it and enjoy it.
Man, even if I do buy it, I'm probably going to use it for 3 days, if that, and then stick it in a drawer and swear off of it because it's Satan.
Come on, Cameron. You
No
like
way.
this
If you get it, you're gonna
don't
love it.
you?
Enough.
I don't know that I will, though. I don't think that I will. It's just, it's too big.
That is big. 5.9 inches is.
It's massive. I mean, it's bigger than the iPhone 6 Plus, and I played with an iPhone 6 Plus today, and I wanted to throw it within the first 35 seconds.
If you go to the comments section on our post, there are approximately 9,001 images that compare the device to other popular devices. I don't think it looks too.
That will prove to me that it's too damn big.
Somebody
need
also
that.
made a weird mock-up.
I was pretty sure that I saw some size comparisons that showed it being smaller than the iPhone 6 Plus.
I think it's like slightly shorter, maybe.
Right.
But it's going to be wider.
Right.
And the width is one of the hardest parts to deal with. I mean, with the Nexus 5, my thumb barely fits across the display to the opposite side. Like, it is barely serviceable with one hand with just the regular Nexus 5. I can't. That's why I don't want any bigger than a 5-inch display.
You
I did play
insane
with the new Moto X today, though, and I don't know. Maybe that 5.2. I may not have a choice but to go to 5.2. It's being forced upon me.
I like the new Moto X. I'm happy with it so
Well,
far.
you know what? It also likes you, but
Well, good.
I mean, you and the Moto X can be friends. That's fine with me.
I'm looking for all these size comparisons. I don't see them. Damn it! I'm disappointed.
Oh, they're there.
Can I get the Nexus 6 compared to a banana?
Depends
I
on
mean,
what
that's
kind of
the
banana we're
impossible.
talking about. You know, actually, I need the Nexus 6. Didn't we decide at one point that David's head was the appropriate comparison?
No, a stuffed parrot.
Oh, there is that. Okay, so I need to see the Nexus 6 next to a banana, a stuffed parrot, and David's head before I can really make a final judgment.
I would say it's probably 0.8 David's heads.
0.8. See,
Holy crap!
I have seen David in person, and he's got a pretty impressive melon. So I'm not sure that I want a phone that big.
And I am not sure how to take that.
5-inch phone though.
It's my best estimate from your thumbnail.
I believe you mean your bestimate.
Liam,
Yes.
your head is like 4 feet across, David. He thinks that you're one of those Mardi Gras.
But 0.8 is like 80% the height of your head. That's not so big.
If your head is that big, then I can only imagine that the Galaxy Note 10.1 is an absolutely monstrous tablet.
I thought you said
because I've seen you hold that
0.08.
up like a phone,
I
and
mean, I'm not really. It's like 9.5 inches, I guess, something like that. I'm not.
Dude has a tape
sure.
measure within arm's reach.
Wait,
I do.
what's the
Sometimes
number?
you
We can do the
measure
math
things
here.
at your desk in private. I mean, who doesn't have a tape measure around?
My head is almost as big as this piece of foam.
Here's the Nexus 5 next to my head for scale. As you can see, let me turn it backwards so there's no glare. As you can see, it's like this phone was made for my head. Look how good they look together.
I don't think
I
the
just-
Moto X was made for my head.
Liam, I feel like your head makes every phone look terrible because your head is just so
It's
perfect.
actually the Nexus 6 next to my head.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Actually
It's not nearly
not.
as bad as I expected.
all right. Well, I think we should move on from the Nexus 6 size troll conversation. We can just agree that it's going to be that big, and there's nothing you can do about it. So
That's
Yeah.
pretty much where we're at right now. That's
Where
where
we're
we're
at.
at, isn't it? That's
we've moved on into the stage of acceptance.
we eat string and we move on.
That's right.
So
And what we move on to in this particular case is Android Ardo. Ardo? Ardo.
Ardo.
Oh, what the hell that is? Android Auto.
Android Artodito.
It's a very picky automobile interface. Very, very picky.
and
Auto.
Android Arto.
Arto.
I did say Ardo.
It's like, is that if you give the voice of Artem to your car?
Yes, it's like a cross between Artem and Kit.
It's like Kit, but worse. Is basically what we're getting at
It's like
here.
Kit, but it corrects your grammar.
It is. It's
Right.
like Kit, and it really gets annoyed if you put an extra space at the beginning of a sentence.
If you pause for more than 1 second between sentences.
All right. So, anyways, Android Auto came to light in a developer page. Some images of what it might look like and how we might interact with it. Liam. So, what do we know?
Yeah, so this is kind of the stuff that we saw at I.O., but more screenshots. Google has these developer landing pages for the different branches of Android, which are increasing by the day. The new one is Android Auto. It shows pretty much what we saw already, the 4 distinct spaces, which are navigation, phone, music, and car information dashboard thing. It pretty much looks like a landscape phone, but with a really pared down interface, because you're driving and you shouldn't be looking at a fully fleshed out interface while you're driving. But yeah, there's a lot of screenshots. You should check it out if you want to. I don't know how useful the information is going to be to most people, but it's pretty, so There's
The one thing that the one thing I kind of recall reading about it was that it seems like the interface is going to be pretty standardized for just about anything that's running on it. Is that what I'm understanding, Liam?
Yeah, I think this is another one of those things like Android TV, where Google is controlling the experience. Because, I mean, it is a Google experience. You're using Google Maps and voice search and voice actions and all that. So I think they're pretty much going to control the experience, which I think is a good choice because we have seen what happens when auto manufacturers are left to their own devices in creating
But
infotainment systems.
come on, think about this. Don't you need TouchWiz on your dash?
Wait, what?
Or,
I do not
don't
need
you want
any TouchWiz on
TouchWiz?
my dash.
What
No.
about LG Skin? Is this still? Do they still call it Optimus UI? I don't know. What about Optimus UI on your dash? Think about how fun that could be.
I think I just imagine like randomly hearing a boys choir singing to me from the dash and
That's
being
awesome.
creeped out as
Good
I am
morning.
with all
Oh,
LG
God.
devices.
That is pretty damn creepy.
So no, I'd rather have Google.
I just want
Yeah.
massive Verizon logos all over my dashboard. Is that
Oh
doable?
man,
So
Like, all
basically,
of the-
you
I
want
like
the,
it.
the Verizon like BMW M series of car.
You could just
Right.
barf all over your
Logos
dashboard and it would look
everywhere.
the same.
True. But so obviously we just talked about how they're going to control the interface on Android Auto, and it's well known that they're going to be doing the same thing with TV, and we're making sure that all the Android Wear devices out there are stock. So it's also comes to no surprise that Android is also, or Google I should say, is also tightening the reins a little bit for the experience for OEMs for phones and tablets as well, right, David?
Yeah, so the information didn't actually release the document they got a hold of, but it's called the Mobile Application Distribution Agreement. It's a document that Google makes people, phone manufacturers and carriers sign when a phone running Google's apps and services is released. They could also be for tablets too, of course. So some of the things that have changed more recently that you've probably noticed is new phones have the Powered by Android logo on the boot screen. That's part of the MADA or MATA agreement. There's the whole thing where the device's default search provider has to be Google, the default voice search provider has to be Google, and the OK Google hot word has to be the default activation hot word for voice control. This is a market change in terms of the level of control Google's exerting over phone OEMs in this voice search and voice command arena. And it's probably going to lead to the demise of most third-party voice control systems in the U.S. and Europe, at least, where the Google services are very popular. There's a few other things. There's a stipulation in the MATA that you have to use the WebView component for in-app web views are launched on your phone, so you can't use your own system, which some manufacturers were trying to do, but Google doesn't want a fragmented WebView API kind of ecosystem. So they're saying you can't do that anymore. You also have to have the icons on the home screen with the appropriate like Google setup laid out. Like they even tell you not only does there need to be a folder of Google Apps, the order in which the apps appear in the folder is stipulated. And of course, it has to be linked to the Play Store. There has to be a Google Search widget, and holding down the home button or swiping up from the virtual home button must activate Google Now by default. It doesn't sound like that forbids it from being remapped by the user or having a setting to change it at a later point. That just has to be the default mapping. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot interesting there. There is some reference to documents that exist that allow for revenue sharing between Google and the carriers and the OEMs, which we really, that sounds very vague. It sounds like these are negotiated on very much a case-by-case basis. So it's not clear how much revenue is actually generated in these deals or how common they are, but the information says they do exist.
All right, and of course, on the Wear side of things, obviously Google kind of flexed their control a little bit this week regarding an Indiegogo project that was maybe not exactly on the up and up. So, David, what happened there?
I thought this was pretty interesting. So there was a campaign for a smartwatch called Com1. It doesn't really matter what the project was, but they were using images in their campaign of Android Wear, and they were using the Android Wear name. They're taking these stock images of Android Wear, and they put them on this conceptual watch, because on Indiegogo you don't have to have any real hardware. You can just claim to do whatever. So they got a copyright complaint from Google fairly quickly. and the project was taken down. Now, not a copyright complaint, an intellectual property complaint, but it's probably copyright because that's the easiest thing to complain about. So, I mean, the one hand, you could interpret this as simply being Google protecting some random screenshots of Android Wear that's used for marketing purposes, which maybe, or you could take it to mean that, hey, Google does not want anybody advertising a Wear device that it has not explicitly approved of, which I think is the much, much more likely scenario here, given how many devices advertise having Android or Google Play services without actually having been certified yet.
So I don't, I'm obviously kind of going back a little bit, but I remember when the Facebook launcher came out, and there were interviews, I believe, with Matias Duarte, where he had said basically that the fact that this launcher exists is one of the things that's so great about Android, and it almost feels like that's kind of a retroactive view on the situation because of the fact that that system and that customizability was already out there. But all these things that we just talked about in the last couple of minutes kind of seems like, I don't know, I feel like if Google were to start over with the operating system on phones and tablets, it almost feels like they probably would have, I don't know, maybe tightened the controls and made it more like a stock environment for all OEMs. Does anybody else kind of feel that way?
I think that the things that we're talking about are kind of special cases because for Android Wear, for instance, Google's taking responsibility for updating all of the Android Wear devices themselves. So the updates are coming directly from Google. So I think it's fair that they would have some say in like how many of those devices exist and who's making them and what they're making them from. I think the same goes for TV and cars too because I'm guessing, will want to control the updates for that as well since they're pure Google experiences. Whether they would start over with Android kind of having such tight control over it, I'm not sure. But I think
I guess to be fair, I don't think they will start over. I feel like the attitude towards it has changed, and if it were starting right now, if Google were right now saying, hey, let's adapt this operating system and run on phones and tablets, I feel like now the mindset has changed, and that might be kind of more something they'd think about and look into.
I think that part of it is also you have to remember that I think Android TV and Android Wear are both going to be open sourced because even though they are forks on the Android platform, Google's still committed to making all of the Android pieces open source. Android Auto is probably just an application that runs on a phone and hooks into a proprietary piece of code running on the car that probably won't ever be open sourced. But Android Wear will be, and they've already open sourced little pieces of it. But they said they're going to open source the whole thing. The thing, though, is that they won't open source anything that's actually important to using Android Wear unless you really want to start from scratch and build an Android-based smartwatch. They're going to make all that available. But as far as the launcher, connections to any Google services, and most crucially, perhaps, the Android Wear app for Android will all remain closed source. So what Google's saying here is, yeah, I mean, eventually people are going to be able to make third-party Android Wear watches if they want to do that. But it will be much, much harder than simply claiming we're going to put Android Wear on this device and it's going to work with Android Wear. You'll have an Android Wear derived system. It won't actually be Android Wear.
It's kind of like taking the whole Play Store certification to the next step.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk about Android L because obviously there's quite a bit of news there this week, and it's the main software release from Google that we're all kind of patiently waiting for. It's now showing up on Chromium Issue Tracker that there's a new build. We're also seeing that there's been some information about bugs that are to be no more. So, Liam, do we know anything else about when we can expect the next build? Is it going to be consumer ready and fully released, or are we talking about another developer build? What do we know?
Well, I can tell you when I think it's going to be released, but obviously Google hasn't officially announced it yet. But they have been working on it. They closed a bunch of bugs, which is pretty common to kind of go through and kill a bunch of bugs that were staying open all in one big batch. So they've been working on that this week. And then the Chromium Issue Tracker, which is one of my favorite places because they always seem to drop little morsels of information and then quickly delete the thread or lock the thread so people can't look at it once we report about it. But they had a video posted of a crash in Chromium, of course, that showed L, and it showed new status bar icons that are kind of the solid look, there's no more dividers for signal bars or Wi-Fi bars or anything, which we had seen before both in the Nexus 6 leak and elsewhere, just in the guidelines as placeholder icons. And the navbar icons are also tweaked. They're smaller and a little more spaced out, but they're still the triangle, circle, and square, so we still have the PlayStation buttons, but they're making progress.
Progress. All right, so we did also hear a little bit of news about Android L and how it relates to Project Ara, because there's still kind of a whole lot of questions floating around about how this whole part swappable configuration that Project Ara promises to bring, and how it's going to work. How's the functionality going to work with those pieces that can be removed? So, Cameron, what did we learn new about that?
So Project Aura is apparently going to run a custom version of Android L. So, and it's custom because supposedly the pieces are going to be hot swappable. Everything aside from the CPU and the display are said to be hot swappable, which I find to be, I don't know, I don't even understand. Like I can't even comprehend how that's going to work. I mean, how can you hot swap RAM? You know, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Or storage, or I mean, I can see how you could add storage, but
it seems to me if you hot swapped RAM, absolutely everything you were running would crash.
Exactly, everything would go wrong. I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't understand how any of that is possible.
I guess it depends on what their definition of hot is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's really that open to interpretation. I mean, hot swappable means you can change it while it's on. So, how else? I mean, how can you
like swap mode, and then it's running on maybe like this very, very simple. I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going with that.
And I think technically hot swappable only means while there's power applied to it, which technically on a phone, I mean, that could be anything other than battery removed.
Yeah, I guess. But then that makes it sound like something that it's not, because
Wait, you can hot swap the battery?
Yeah, see,
If that's
exactly.
what that
It's
technically means. How can you hot swap the power source?
Yeah, I don't see how you could hot swap anything. Maybe a camera. I could see how you could like pull the camera and put a new camera module in, and it'd be a better camera. I could even see how I might be able to see how you could add RAM to a system. But even if you remove RAM, everything would be like, wait, what? No.
Well, hey, here's a thought. You know, obviously they've got different bays, and from what I understand, I don't know that necessarily any one bay can only be used for one purpose.
Michael Bay.
So
Making shitty movies.
Well, that's one purpose, I guess. But so if you're talking about RAM, maybe the process is you add RAM to an empty slot and then remove the existing RAM.
That's still, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe.
Or like
maybe.
Dr. Magnayasha says, it's possible that by CPU they mean the entire SoC stack, which does, as he says, stacks the RAM and CPU on the same thermal envelope. So that's
Listen here, Dr. Mac.
He just said some nerdy stuff.
Yeah. So
this is the Android Police
hard to say
podcast.
what
We
they
don't
really
get
mean by
technical.
CPU.
Okay.
Like that's being very. Project R has been this whole time about kind of being vague enough about technical details that it probably sounds a little more amazing than it's going to actually end up being.
I bet it's going to be. Well, I'm not going to give my projection yet. Let's just say I don't have high
swappable
hopes.
means is that things won't break. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to continue to work.
Okay, I'll take it.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting concept either way, and it's something that we may actually see come to fruition. Google seems pretty damn determined to make this thing happen, and they're not gonna let us forget that it exists.
Right. Well, mindshare is probably as important as anything with a project like this. So.
Truth.
All right, so pretty cool stuff rolling out this week to Google Glass, Liam being the proud Glass owner. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on with preview and captioning?
Yeah, there are two new apps, Preview and Captioning. Preview is an app that wants to let you see movie trailers if you are looking at a movie poster, which is pretty cool. I don't think that watching videos on that screen is necessarily the best experience, but there you go. Captioning will show you what people are saying by essentially just dictating it to text, which could be useful. It's kind of a cool trick. But these are kind of some of the first apps that really make use of some of the unique experiences that Glass can do, I think. There's a lot of potential with a device like Glass for interactions that you can't really do with a handheld device, and I think these are getting there, finally.
Is there a word lens glassware?
Yep, there is.
You say, because that seems extremely useful.
That's probably my favorite Glass app, even though I never have a reason to.
You never go anywhere where they speak different languages, but you'll be prepared in case.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You probably got some. Did you get some use out of it when you were in Berlin?
I did not take it to Berlin, actually.
So the one time it would have been useful, you didn't take it. Okay, I'm starting to understand your thinking a little bit better, and that I don't understand it at all.
Well, he made it into the little hombre's room at the Mexican restaurant.
Fantastic. All right, cool. Well, good to see useful purposes developing for computers on your face, because Lord knows that's what everybody's saying is that.
I have to say, I'm completely jazzed about this whole thing, because
cool, yeah.
When I was like probably late 80s, I'm like, why can't deaf people go to movies and wear glasses and like see captions, you know? So the fact that we're almost there is pretty cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Good point, Bob. True. All right, so nearly a year into its existence, the Google Play newsstand has achieved a new personal best in overall appearance. The update rolled out this week to version 3.3, and it's pretty much the complete material makeover. Changes include larger imagery and smoother transitions. They also made the magazine experience a little bit more tolerable on small phone-size screens, or even large, Shamu-size phone screens too. But if you haven't gotten the update already, it's rolling out kind of in stages, but you can always head on over to AndroidPolice.com. There is an APK download to be sure.
Google announces Drive for Education, supplying schools and students with, wait for it, unlimited cloud storage. All your educations belong to us. With actually pretty cool, you can actually store files up to 5 terabytes in size. Individual files, 5 terabytes in size. Crazy stuff. General consumers would have to pay $99.99 a month to have a service that could handle a file that large. So pretty cool. Google providing unlimited storage to students.
Actually, if you're in the a big part of that for education is probably try to get the big data people in statistics and genomics, because they deal with crazily large data sets that usually involve physically mailing hard drives places to transfer data.
I couldn't hear you. That involve what?
Physically mailing hard drives to transfer data from one location to another.
Oh, kind of like the Amazon cold storage stuff?
No, I mean like physically taking a hard drive out of a server, putting it in an envelope, and then mailing it somewhere because it's not efficient to transfer it over the web.
Right.
So I think if I understand this correctly, 5 terabyte file size limit will not be very useful to people using FAT32.
Right.
Is that accurate?
That doesn't sound right.
5 terabytes.
Terabytes.
You can't.
I can't imagine
files that big.
I can't imagine a 5 terabyte file.
You got FAT32. It's like 4 gigabytes, I think.
Gigabytes.
Yep. Yeah. So if you got them big files, you gotta use a different file system.
All right. Well, hey, let's move on to the rumor roundup.
Okay.
All right, so we've got some HTC announcements incoming very, very soon, and as time gets closer and closer to the announcement day, we are hearing more and more about what's potentially going to be coming, and the latest is the HTC M8i. Not the letter I, EYE, like eyeball eye. And that's what we're hearing, David. What do we know about it?
You probably don't care about it because it's probably only coming to China and India, which makes sense because it's just a 1M8 with the ultra-pixel camera replaced with a standard 13-megapixel camera, which makes sense especially for the Asian market, where people are seemingly crazy about specifications involving ever larger numbers. So that's what that's for, and you probably won't ever hear about it again. So that's
So in other words, this is just like the Butterfly 2, except with a different name, because we're not getting it here. It's
even
got
less
some cool
exciting
stuff.
than that.
But what's that?
It's even less exciting than that.
Less exciting than the Butterfly 2.
Less exciting.
All right, well, that was the very not exciting rumor roundup. Let's move on to Carrier 411.
Carrier 411.
All right, so the theme of Carrier 411 this week is data limits. And AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint all kind of announcing programs to give you extra data for your money, which is always a good thing, of course. We'll talk about unlimited data perhaps a little later on. But so Cam, what's going on with what's going on? I guess it started off with AT&T announcing double data.
Yes. So AT&T decided that it would be a great idea to give people double the amount of data for their money, starting with the 15 gigabyte plan, which is kind of a bummer because I would have really liked to have this on the 10 gigabyte plan, but whatever. So 15 gigabytes now gets 30, et cetera, for the same amount of money.
Plans?
I'm sorry, what?
Is this for new plans only?
No, actually, existing customers can sign up for this and get it too. So
They have to switch to one of these plans if they're not. I mean, well, obviously, if they're not already in one of these plans, they'd have to switch to it. But if they're in one of these plans, do they just get it?
I'm on a 15 gigabyte plan. So do I just get it?
No, you have to actually enroll in it. Even if you already have the 15 gigabyte plan, you have to get in touch with AT&T either online or call them or whatever, and then they will honor this deal on your account too. So
I want that.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, double data, and then of course Verizon and Sprint had to also jump on and do the same thing. Verizon's doing it a little differently. They're doubling data for the same amount of money, but they're also including their 12 gigabyte plan, but instead of doubling it, they just bumped it up to 15 gigabytes, which, I mean, I guess you can't really complain about that. It's 3 more gigabytes for the same amount of money, so more is always more. Everything else basically got doubled. And then Sprint just threw it down and said, you know what, we're going to double the data, and we're not going to charge that much either. So, I mean, far and above, Sprint has the best prices. They're doing 60 gigabytes for $130, and 60 gigabytes on Verizon and AT&T is $225. Or I'm sorry, I don't know about AT&T, but on Verizon it is $225. So that's like $100 difference, and it just keeps going from there. Sprint's 80 gigabyte plan is only $150, and their 120 gigabyte plan is $225.
60 is $225 on AT&T.
Yeah, I mean okay. So I thought Verizon and AT&T were. I don't have the other tab open with AT&T stuff. So I thought Verizon and AT&T were essentially the same, on par with pricing. But man, Sprint is just killing it. But of course, in order to get that price, you have to go to Sprint.
Then you have to deal with their network.
And you have to deal with their network. They're like, oh yeah, we'll give you 120 gigabytes for $225. The joke's on you because you'll never be able to get access to use all 120 of those gigabytes.
They can give away gigabytes freely because they just know nobody will actually use them.
Yeah, getting free data on 120 gigabytes on Sprint is like getting a water tower, but there aren't any faucets. Like there's no way, or you can just rip it out like one little droplet at a time. You have unlimited water. Why are you complaining?
Yeah, that's kind of it. It's so Sprint has the better prices, but they also have the worst network of the bunch. Still pretty cool. I'm on the 10 gigabyte plan on AT&T right now, family plan, and I think I'm going to bump up to the 15. It's $30 more than I'm paying right now, but I mean it's triple the data that I currently have, so I think it's probably worth it.
I'm probably just going to switch to T-Mobile when the Nexus comes out. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
I'm kind of tempted to. I don't know what I want to do right now. I'm kind of irritated at AT&T that has absolutely nothing to do with their actual cell service and more to do with their rude ass representatives in the local store but I'm not going to go
So I just went on my phone and switched from the 15 gigabyte plan to the 30 gigabyte plan, saved $10 a month, and I now have a 30 gigabyte plan. That's pretty cool.
See, that's freaking sweet, man.
That is pretty sweet.
Sweet.
I like it.
Sweet.
Sweet. All right, so let's talk a little bit about unlimited data, as promised. So obviously, with all the data doubling that's going on, Verizon had a little bit of explaining to do regarding their throttling of unlimited data customers, and well, they explained it, and I think they might have explained it in the best way possible, right, David?
Yeah, so what happened was Verizon announced that, hey, all of you unlimited subscribers that are using a bunch of data at, highly congested times, we're going to start throttling you, as in the top 5% of you. It was something they had done on the 3G network, but that was when everybody had an unlimited data plan. But they said, no, we're just going to target the people with unlimited because they're the biggest abusers. They didn't really word it right, though. They made it sound like they're just going to discriminate solely on the basis that these people were unlimited subscribers. Now, if they had said it differently and said, we're just going to do the top 5% of data users on the network, period, that would have just meant unlimited data users, because nobody's going through that much on a tiered data plan. It wouldn't matter. They should have just said it that way. But they were trying to get people to switch their plans to a tiered plan, and to convince some of these data hogs to move. And the FCC, Tom Wheeler, said, that's maybe not such a great idea. And, not that it really matters, because the FCC has very little power in this situation, unless somebody wants to file a lawsuit, which I just don't see happening. The FCC's played very lax with the mobile networks, but the FCC came out and said, hey, don't do that. And Verizon said, all right, whatever. We don't agree with you, but we're not going to do it anymore. So you people with your unlimited data just keep screwing up the network or whatever, even if there's not, necessarily any great evidence provided that they're screwing it up. So they're not going to throttle the unlimited users on LTE. They could eventually, if they wanted to, if they decide it's a big deal, but it sounds like they just want to avoid the fight. They don't want the bad PR, and they don't want the ire of the FCC, even though, again, if the FCC has pretty limited power to do anything about this.
I would just like to point out that people who defend their right to unlimited data don't necessarily make up the heaviest users, because my wife was incredibly hesitant to give up her unlimited data when we switched over to T-Mobile, because she had managed to upgrade her phone through Amazon and keep her unlimited data on Verizon, after we should have lost it if we'd have gone into the store and upgraded it. And sure enough, every month before she had lost her unlimited data and after, she averaged about 500 megabytes a month. I mean, I think that there's a whole lot of people out there who hang on to unlimited just because of the idea of what it is, when really it's not completely necessary to their use of their device. And it's kind of one of those things that when you go out and say that unlimited data users are the problem with our network bandwidth, well, that's pretty kind of, just wrong. I mean, it's just wrong.
Yeah, I know. There's tons of people out there like that who have unlimited and don't want to get rid of it just because they have unlimited, and they think that if they get rid of it, something bad's going to happen, even if there's no real technical reason to believe it. There are also people out there who use unlimited data connections as their home internet. Michael for AP does that with Verizon. Granted, he lives in the middle of nowhere in Texas, so he's kind of got a special situation there. But there are those people out there, and that's who Verizon was probably trying to, point their finger at with this. And there's also the fact that, Verizon's network, if you live in a truly urban area, Verizon's LTE network has been so bogged down. There are so many complaints they're getting right now, and they're trying to rapidly deploy additional spectrum to relieve the stress on the network, because in some places, there's a ton of people complaining basically the video streaming on Verizon doesn't work anymore at congested times, like at all.
Well, good thing they have video calling now.
Yeah, exactly. So then everybody says, well, it's throttling, and no, it's not. It's just, how Verizon is managing the network, and it's not throttling. It's just like, if you have a cable provider and you try to do YouTube at 1080p at, 5 p.m. or 7 p.m., or Netflix, it's going to be slow, because that's just, oftentimes is an issue of how many servers your ISP has that are connecting up to the service in question, Netflix or YouTube, and it's not enough. So even though you have a 100 megabit connection, you're not getting 100 megabits on these services. So Verizon is especially taking a lot of crap for that right now, which I mean they didn't build out their network in the urban areas well enough. They were the first, and that's I think what they were going for. So.
Well, I wouldn't even say that I live in an especially urban area. I mean, the population density here isn't ridiculous by any stretch of the imagination, but I can tell you that when I got Verizon LTE, it was pretty cool, and I was pretty excited about my 12 megabits down, and everything was great until I switched to T-Mobile, where I started getting 35. So it's the same exact areas. It's just the network congestion just makes a huge difference, and where we're at is extremely Verizon heavy user base. So.
Yeah, it does make a big difference, and it's gone from I remember when I was I was on Verizon, and I could get like 45 megabits down where I used to live, and I think now it's about 11 there or something. It like the best times, so it's a big change.
All right, let's move on to product reviews.
It's time for product reviews. This week, Cameron has a hands-on review of NVIDIA's Shield Tablet LTE, available today at Best Buy.
Well, it's been available for a couple of days at this point.
Available for a couple of days at Best Buy.
And Amazon. And Newegg.
And Amazon and other places.
Other places, that's a good way to put it. And
I'm just
places.
reading
So,
the words on the sheet.
This is Shield Tablet LTE. It is just like the Wi-Fi version, except it has LTE and it has 32 gigabytes of storage instead of just 16. Essentially, everything else is the same. Yeah, I mean, it's just as fast. It has the same display. I like it just as much. Actually, I like it more because it has more storage. I mean, I filled up the other one just so quickly. By the first day on the Wi-Fi model, I had to pop in an SD card and start transferring stuff. And on the LTE model, I installed everything that I had on the Wi-Fi model, and I haven't moved anything to the SD card, and I still have 12 gigabytes free. So, yeah,
Nice.
I definitely dig the extra space. Surprisingly, I used it on LTE more than I thought I would, which still isn't a lot, but I never really thought I would care about having, at one point I wanted an LTE tablet, and then I got so used to Wi-Fi tablets, I just didn't think I wanted LTE in a tablet anymore, but I do. I use it a surprising amount. So the LTE is nice. If you don't mind throwing it on your plan, paying an extra $10 for it, I think it's worth having, and I definitely think it's worth the $100 upgrade over the Wi-Fi version. The Wi-Fi version is $299, LTE is $399. To me, it's a no-brainer. Even if just for the extra storage, which I'm not going to say that extra storage in itself is worth $100 because it's not. But unfortunately, there is no 32 gigabyte Wi-Fi model. So if you want the extra storage, you are basically left without choice. But if you really don't think you'll ever use the LTE, there is always the option of throwing an SD card in it. But then that, of course, just becomes kind of a pain in the ass because you have to transfer stuff from, every time you install something, you have to jump into the app settings and transfer it to the SD card. And it really is annoying when you first set everything up because then you have to go through and just transfer, like 10 or 12 different games or whatever to the SD card, which that's all I ever transfer to the SD card or games because obviously those are going to be the biggest files. But anyway, yeah, Shield Tablet I love Shield Tablet. It's my favorite tablet this year, and I think the LTE model is even better.
Fantastic. It's just like the NVIDIA Shield tablet, except with LTE.
And more space.
And more space.
And more space. Oh yeah, it's also worth noting that if you get one and then you go to activate it on AT&T, they will give you a $100 credit on your bill if you commit to 2 years with the LTE tablet.
2 years. Ooh.
Not sure I would do that, but I figure it's worth pointing out because somebody might want to. I mean, that might be the justification somebody needs.
Just to be clear, this is a one-time $100 credit.
A one-time, yeah, but
you don't get it every month for 2 years.
That might be the thing that somebody says, "Oh, I'll just buy the LTE model and get the $100 credit," which means it's like buying the Wi-Fi model. So somebody may justify that in their head. There's no possible way I would ever do that. But
or if you don't plan on using the LTE network extremely often, you could just take it over to T-Mobile and get 250 megabytes a month for free. So
Oh, I might do that.
that's an option.
That's a good idea. I might
Just saying.
I might check that out. I might peep that scene, yo.
For real. All right, so let's talk about thermal smartphone infrared cameras, David.
Okay, let's do that. I've got it all set up here. So
I've seen you toying with it over there.
I have
that
been.
you're
I've been messing
preparing
with it.
for a.
So the
Gas
first thing
demo.
I'll do that's the easy demo. I'll just put it in front of the screen here and point it at myself. And
Oh
you
my
can
gosh.
And-
You are hot.
You look like you're wearing sunglasses. It's
You
pretty
are
sweet.
hot.
It does. So you can see, the varying temperature. My skin over here is a lamp. You can see the lamp.
I love lamp.
I love lamp.
Actually, if you see the black spot
I
over
kind
there,
of like lamp.
that is the air conditioning vent.
Oh, I thought that was your heart, David.
So you can see that's the dark spot in the room where the air is coming out. It's actually useful if you want to check your home's insulation or see where you're getting heat leaks. You can see where the most warm or cold air is getting into your house. It's very useful for that. You can use it to hunt down people at night that you're going to murder or seriously injure, I guess. You can use it to find your dog. You can use it to find somebody else's dog and steal it. You can use it to see if a car has been recently running, if you're a stalker person. You can do all kinds of things with it.
And no longer is the question, who farted, relevant.
True. I've not yet tested this, but I am super tempted. I'm not sure the refresh rate is high enough, though, because it's really slow. If it was like real-time 60 FPS video, I would probably make a video and post it on YouTube.
It would definitely be. It would be for my farts. They're long enough.
I can say at the very least you could tell who peed in the pool.
So to talk about how this thing works, because I know for people who are just listening to the audio podcast, they're not really going to be able to take much from the visual end. But this device is actually pretty innovative in a couple of ways. So if you know much about thermal imagery, it's pretty expensive. A basic handheld thermal imager from a respected company like FLIR will cost you about $1,000, and that's with a resolution of 80 by 60 pixels.
Wow.
Which is not a lot. So this device here has a resolution of, I believe, 206 by 154. So that's a lot more pixels. No, it's 32,000 pixels. And Seek is a company that partnered with Raytheon, came up with a new technology to greatly improve the efficiency of manufacturing thermal sensors. It's also partnered with Freescale Semiconductor. So two pretty well-known names in the tech industry, and Raytheon obviously for their military equipment, and obviously police departments and defense organizations are going to be very interested in this technology that makes thermal imagery a little more accessible and a little more cost-effective. But the thing about Seek Thermal, it only costs $200, which for something of this level of technology is unheard of. There is a iPhone thermal imaging camera made by FLIR called the FLIR 1. It costs $350, but still only has an 80 by 60 pixel resolution.
Wow.
So the resolution.
The Apple tax.
Yeah, and it only works with the iPhone 5, and they said they're going to come out with an Android version eventually, and probably an iPhone 6 version because it's a case basically. It's not just something you attach in. The Seek Thermal is just a little dongle that attaches to the end of your smartphone. Now, obviously for Android, your USB port has to be oriented in the right direction in order for it to be very useful, but it will work with any Android device with USB OTG capabilities, which these days is most high-end phones. They've tested a lot with Motorola and Samsung devices, so if you were really wanted one of these, just go out and buy a first-gen Moto G used on eBay, and it works with that, and there you go. That's probably less than half the cost of the sensor. And there are a variety of uses for this. You can actually use it to it is a thermometer. You point at something, it will tell you how hot it is to within a fraction of a degree of precision. It's not that accurate necessarily, but the precision has to be there because that's how it creates these images. So you can point at something, and you can select the type of material: skin, stainless steel, wood, paint, plastic, etc., and it'll get you closer to that accurate temperature. Overall, this is probably the coolest thing I've played with all year. I just want to use it all the time.
I like how you used a temperature-based description of cool. It's the coolest thing.
It actually is pretty cool because it's in this. It's got a magnesium alloy casing.
I tell you what, as an amateur ghost hunter, this thing is pretty intriguing to me.
Man, somebody said that in the comments and they got
Somebody did say that in
blasted
the
for it.
comments. They got destroyed. It was kind of
Which
fun.
I thought was pretty ridiculous because, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't see anything wrong with people who want to go ghost hunting. I'm not necessarily sure I buy into it, but you know what? It's still pretty fun.
I said it for the sole purpose of getting blasted, and you guys totally didn't take the bait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
But I
you know
am
what?
an amateur ghost hunter.
Are you? Are you really? Because we're going to go ghost hunting together.
We have the Mansfield Reformatory down here where they film the Green Mile,
Yeah.
so it's pretty cool.
So we're gonna go ghost hunting there, aren't we? Yes, we are.
Activities when we were there, but you know. But still, I farted several times, and it would be funny to watch the farts on the camera.
Yes.
Trying to use
But now I want to see people
about
getting
this.
blasted for their amateur ghost hunting ways. All right. Well, I guess I can always come back to that.
It's
I don't think
it's
they're-
fun.
I
It's
have to
fun to
come-
ghost hunt because you get to use technology.
It's probably better than going tornado hunting, which is something I've done and regretted.
I know.
Well, you didn't regret it as badly as some people, obviously.
Obviously.
Some people regret it once.
Yes. I was able to turn the vehicle around quick enough to not regret it that much.
All right, Mullins, where you live? Let's go on a ghost hunt.
I think we have other news we need to discuss. Other news?
We do.
Other news.
Other
There's
news.
Some other news.
It's time for other news. The news other than what we've been talking about.
All right, so Cyanogen Inc. is in the other news headlines this week regarding a potential buyout from Google, which they supposedly turned down for at least an Instagram, right, David?
Yeah, well, that's not necessarily what Google offered them. Google probably offered them a lot less. But the information is reporting, according to sources, that Google's Sundar Pichai was specifically interested in acquiring Cyanogen Inc. Specific purpose not stated, but presumably to in some way be a part of the Android team. But so Cyanogen turned them down, and so now they're looking for additional funding for their company on the basis of a $1 billion valuation. This story reeks of a valuation circle jerk to me. All it is somebody in Cyanogen decided to leak it to the information because it's a juicy story. Hey, Google offered to buy us, and we're seeking a valuation of $1 billion. I mean, the story writes itself there. You don't even need to say anything else. Supposedly, they're also going to come out with a handset later this year, partnering with Micromax in India, which in India is kind of a big deal, but everywhere else doesn't really matter. I honestly just think, by turning down Google, they're saying they're too cool to be bought, but they're also saying we can be bought just for a lot more money.
Right.
I don't know. It's interesting. Micromax is the partner since they've also been announced as one of the early Android One platform adopters. So I don't know. Is that something you think that people would pay more money for? Is a Cyanogen mod phone over $100 Google stock experience?
I highly doubt it.
Me too. That's kind of what I was getting at. All right, let's move on to voicemails.
This week we had a voicemail. Hello, Jocelyn. This is the question for you. This week is with Google starting to copy the sins of our seemingly copy of the things of everyone else on the phone and cellular business by stuffing blow. We're in Android phones. But it seems like they're doing it because it does to me. I ask this because of the news of who goes into phone certification requirements require additional Google Apps that's being installed. That certainly can either way. They're going, it just happened to be today that I was losing, I came back up. Free some of the Google like Google Plus, Google Books, Google Newsstand, which is on my phone for 2 years and I have never used it. I mean, appreciate your thoughts on the matter. And I look forward to hearing your reply. Take care.
I'm just interested in someone who's stuffing
Hello,
blow in
gentlemen.
Android phones.
This is Matt.
That's right.
Right, you can stuff blow in Android phones, but it only lasts for a short while in my household.
Yes. blow goes quickly.
Hello,
at the
gentlemen. This is Matt. The question for you this week is, with Google starting to copy the sins of, or seemingly copy the sins of everyone else in the phone and cellular business by stuffing bloatware into Android phones, does it seem like they are doing that? Because it does to me. I ask this because with the news of Google's new phone certification requirements requiring additional Google apps being installed, it certainly seems to be the way they're going. It just happened to be today that I was using a titanium backup to freeze some of the Google apps like Google Plus, Google Books, Google Newsstand, which have been on my phone for 2 years and I have never used. I would appreciate your thoughts on the matter, and I look forward to hearing your reply. Take care.
Well, personally, I think the definition of bloatware is stuff that nobody really finds much use for. It's just something that makes the carriers more money. And I don't necessarily think any of those services that you mentioned, Google Plus, Newsstand, are necessarily fall into that category. Now, they may not be apps that you use on a day-to-day basis, but you don't necessarily have to. I personally think that those are productivity apps in a lot of cases, or applications that a fair number of average users can get use of. So I don't necessarily see it as bloatware. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I definitely don't see it as bloatware. I use all the Google apps. I don't use Google Plus that much, but I mean I do check it. I read pretty much exclusively in Google Books. I subscribe to like 12 or 15 different magazines, all of which are in Google Newsstand. I don't see that as. I mean, I see that as part of the Google ecosystem. I mean, when you buy Android and you buy into Android, you buy into Google's ecosystem, and all those apps, that's what they are. That's a huge part of Google's ecosystem, and to me, it's not even close to bloatware.
See,
I agree. Oh.
I partially agree because I think that the delineation that you're making is that it's useful to you. And I agree with the caller. Newsstand, I don't ever use Newsstand, and I really don't see any purpose to have it on my phone. But guess what? I can't uninstall it. So, okay, moving on from that, I do also kind of think that it's unfair to call it bloatware because bloatware is things that third parties introduce to your phone based on what they want to add on top of what is provided, and this is what is provided.
Right, and usually they're subsidizing the cost of the device or something else through paying to be on your phone because you otherwise wouldn't want it on your phone.
So I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say that it's bloatware, although there are things that Google puts on my phone that I don't necessarily want. But I'm all right with that because you know what? They give me a whole bunch of crap for free, so.
You know, it's only bloatware in the sense that if you buy an iPhone and Apple has all its apps installed there, I mean, is it bloatware? If Apple makes the
That's
phone?
a fair point.
Right.
I mean, because you kind of go back also to the days of crappy Windows laptops where, like, if you bought an Asus or an Acer, there'd be like 80 apps loaded on there that like would do absolutely nothing and were utterly buggy and useless. But I think that's kind of like arguing, well, I'm buying an Android phone, and I think that all of the Android applications that Google makes for Android for its own operating system are useless and therefore bloatware. Well, I don't think you can call them bloatware. I don't use a lot of them either, especially considering you can turn them off in Android, and so they don't do anything. They won't use your battery. I don't really see the big deal there. I wouldn't consider it bloatware. I'd consider it bloat in the sense that, yeah, there are a lot of them, and some of them are of questionable utility, especially if you don't use the services. But at the end of the day, you can hide them.
Yeah.
I think if they made it so that you could turn it off when you get a new device, that when it syncs down your applications, it'll automatically hide things for you. That would be maybe nice.
I think
when it comes to that, there are a lot of things I would like to see happen, but that's a whole different conversation.
Sure. Go ahead, Liam.
I agree basically with David on this. You can disable the apps if you don't use them, but they are part of the ecosystem. Like if you want to buy an Android phone that doesn't have Google apps on it, you either need to go to China or you need to not buy an Android phone because it's Google's platform. And as far as increasing the number of apps that they require OEMs to install by default, like Google has more apps now. So if they have more apps and you're buying something as part of their platform, they're going to be on that phone. So as long as you can disable them, or if you want to root and uninstall them or whatever, that's fine. I don't consider them bloatware myself, though, even if I don't use them.
There's usage data on these apps, too. Google seems to put to rest applications that don't get the use and services that don't meet, the average consumer's expectations of what they're there for. So obviously these devices are still, or these apps are still on our devices for a reason.
Agreed.
Yep.
Contest, Matt.
Contest. Well, actually, as it turns out, we got a contest on the site that we just posted that it's over. So.
Oh, it's over.
It's over. But there's Humble Bundle. There's Humble Bundle codes that are being given away that we should be announcing the winners of soon. And keep yourself constantly refreshing AndroidPolice.com/contest to see what other contests are going to pop up in the very near future.
Yep. There's an extension for that. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show. As always, send your feedback to podcast@androidpolice.com. You can also call us at 530-HELLO-AP. That's 530-435-5627. Find us on Twitter at Android Police, Google Plus, and Facebook. Bloatware.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Don't forget our Halloween episode, October 30th. Wear a costume. We're going to throw our Kamikaze link out there. And if you're not in costume, we're going to cut you right off the show and probably make fun of you for not wearing a costume.
I'm pretty sure I'm just going to buy a DuPont hazmat suit and a gas mask.
Hopefully by that time we'll have some pie confirmation.
Some pie confirmation?
Pie confirmation.
Yeah, there's going to be.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, I should wear the hazmat suit when I.
For the pie. Do it for the pie.
For the pie. Yes, I actually got the hazmat suit last year, and that is specifically the only reason why I have this particular.
I'm in suspense here.
I was wondering if it was just me.
David, this is a lemon meringue pie, right?
It is a lemon meringue pie.
A meringue pie? Nice.
I think we have to specify that the pie needs to touch your face. It can't just touch the hazmat suit.
Oh man, you just got had.
I don't know.
Oh my God, the first.
That's cheating.
If it's a funny enough hazmat suit, I'm okay with that.
The first review of the hazmat suit on Amazon. This suit is great if you work and/or own car wash business. The harsh chemicals really irritate skin. My only one complaint is that the suit covers the feet, which can make it hard while running away from hitmen, fried chicken restaurant chain owners, neo-Nazis, and my brother-in-law, who is always meddling in my affairs.
Nice. I get it. It's a
I
reference
understand that reference.
to the show with
Sick
the guy
reference.
from
Sick
Malcolm
reference,
in the
bro.
Middle.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
I gotta go as well.
Oh,
Go
All
right.
Cameron.
Yeah.
Go drunk, you're home.
Go
Did
drone.
you tell me to hold on, Matt?
Your what? Flunk?
Go hump. You're a drone.
Go your drone. Okay,
Did you-
Bezos.
Okay, yeah. Did you tell me to hold on or go home?
You're a drone?
You said go hump your drone.
I don't even know what's
You're a
happening
drone.
anymore.
It sounds funnier that way.
Okay,
That may be an episode title.
now I'm out.
All right, peace out.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Deuces.
Reese's.
Reese's. You and me, Bob.
2 and 1.
It's just us. The chat.
It is.
Us in the chat.
So chat room comes up, and then we're gonna end the show. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's
So
see if we
let's
get
wait
any
for the lag to
questions.
catch up.
I know, we got to get one question.
One question.
We're going to answer it no matter what. It's truth or dare.
I want to ask the chat room if they thought the show was better this week with the new format.
I couldn't follow it, to be honest.
You couldn't follow it?
No. It actually seemed like the first part of the show, I
felt like it started off with more energy.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I did not.
Carrier 411 at the beginning of the show, I don't think is very energetic.
I don't know. The short topics are good.
I think the energy that we ended Code Google with kind of flowed right on through the Carrier 411. And
I think if we're going to do that, we have to have really high octane topics right at the beginning.
We did. It was Nexus, Shamu.
Yeah. No questions. We're answering the first question. It's like truth or dare, no matter what the question is. There was a new format? Yes. See you later!